Part 3 of your HACCP program review, and we'll be continuing working on Form 5A. So let's go to a different ingredient. Again, you've worked systematically through. You've looked up your ingredient in the reference hazard database. You have listed the hazards, and you've gone through using a logical, common sense, thinking which GMP would control this. Now, let's take a look at perhaps a higher hazard ingredient. So we're making banana muffins today. So let's find eggs. Eggs, as you know, can be a great source of pathogens if not handled properly. I wish the reference hazard database was a little bit faster. It is what it is. So I narrowed it down for the egg section, and let's find egg. Ready to use grated shell egg? Sounds about right. Do make sure to cross-reference because I'm noting things like egg washing detergent, ungrated shell eggs, or returned eggs, hatchery eggs. Make sure you pick the right egg. Oh, we could even go egg product pasteurized, frozen liquid, etc. So I'm, you know what? Let's go with egg product unpasteurized, frozen dried liquid. Because again, odds are very high. We are bringing in buckets of liquid egg. Likely frozen. So I'm going to go click associated hazards. And we can sing the Jeopardy song. Oh, that actually was really quite quick here. So my hazards relative to egg product unpasteurized frozen dried liquid. Here are my hazards. So presence of pathogenic bacteria, growth of pathogens up to an unacceptable level from storage, mycotoxins, environmental contaminants, antibiotics, non-food chemicals, and hazardous extraneous material. So again, I'm going to cut and paste that to my form egg. Paste it using plain text. It makes reading it a whole lot easier. So we've listed out the hazards. Again, if you were in industry, you would go through and do an additional site-specific risk assessment of your product and identify if there were any additional hazards relative to the environment you're working in. So we've listed the hazards. Let's think about their risks. So is there a potential for pathogenic bacteria? And could those bacteria cause harm of a reasonably high severity? So yes, most egg product has the potential for bacterial contamination, and that bacterial contamination can cause significant illness. So I would say high. Now the question is, now I went with unpasteurized frozen egg. Of course, this begs the question, yes, could a GMP control the hazard? Well, you know what? I could select a different ingredient. I could select pasteurized liquid frozen egg. Fine. That then is going to indicate that B211 is going to control this hazard. If I chose to go with pasteurized frozen egg, B211, and the intent being the supplier is selling me a safe, clean product because it's pasteurized. But if we change this back to unpasteurized, because unpasteurized is likely going to be cheaper, oh, suddenly, you know what? Unpasteurized frozen egg is likely going to have bacteria in it, and no letter of guarantee, no sanitation, nothing I'm going to be able to do within my own environment is going to be able to control this hazard. So if we read this section here, if the answer is no, if no GMP is going to control it, go to column 4. Column 4. Is it likely contamination with the identified hazard could occur in excess of an acceptable level? What on earth does this mean? Well, if we have something that's high risk here, it's high risk for a reason, and that's because it's likely that it's going to be there, and it's going to be there in an unacceptable level. So the answer is yes. If the answer is yes, you're going to column 5. Could a control measure be used to eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level. Well, how do we get rid of most pathogenic bacteria? Well, yes, we cook our products. We are not eating raw muffins. We are going to be eating baked muffins. These are cooked products. And so, yes, indeed, it is going to be cooking step. And we need to make sure that that cooking step is going to show up on Form 5B. Now, let's say we're not working with unpasteurized frozen eggs. Now we're working with raw chicken. Now, I'm not putting raw chicken in my muffins. I'm just using this as an example. But I'm going to guarantee raw chicken is going to have this same clause here. Now, I'm thinking of the chicken finger group, where they're par frying but not necessarily meeting full lethality. And the question is if the cooking step is not sufficient to truly remove the hazard, you may indeed list no, knowing full well that you are passing on that hazard and you're passing on the relevant information to your customer. So in the case of the chicken fingers, you are going to be on Form 7 listing the hazard that is relevant, presence of pathogenic bacteria, and you're going to be listing the relevant information for the customer to then manage that hazard. In the case of chicken fingers, which are typically consumer packaged goods, you're going to have cooking instructions for the purchaser. Please cook to internal temperature of 74 degrees Celsius. Or if it's a food service business to business product, you are going to also include cooking instructions, cook to internal temperature 74 degrees Celsius. And as such, that is a Form 7 hazard that has been mitigated by providing appropriate instructions, but it's not controlled, it's mitigated. So I'm hoping this makes sense. Form 5A is a bit of labor. I do recommend working together because you're going to start to see patterns. Take advantage of those patterns. Most ingredients are going to contain hazardous extraneous material, and as you recall, hazardous extraneous material could be anything from insect wings or pieces of metal shards, and think about where they're coming from. Is it an equipment maintenance issue? Is it a supplier issue? Is it a food hygiene issue with personnel, like getting contact lenses and false eyelashes in your food? Is it an issue with metal detection? So a G211 program, making sure that your foreign material detection, foreign material management strategy within the processing environment is working sufficiently as well. I do not subscribe to the theory that there's only one way to manage a hazard. In many cases, there are multiple ways that you can control a hazard. Certain auditors will say, nope, there's only one answer, but I disagree. And if you have 2 or 3, or logically a few more, that said, do not just shotgun approach and name every single GMP. Do be strategic about it, and I do double check for that. Hoping Form 5A now makes more sense to you, and we will carry on now to Form 5B, which has many similarities, but a few unique differences. Take care.